Something wrong here. I don't know what it is. Hi there, everybody. Apologies for the technical difficulty. Our introduction, normally introduction didn't come. So welcome to another Fireside Chat. And this is Fireside Chat 208, brought to you by the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. And as is customary, I begin with a prayer for peace. Gomara Siacán ar fud na crinne. Gomara Siacán in our Jaili agus in our Jirha. Gonari lin lenacrid garmacha. Gamich buikostiv. Je chuvdaka is spirit chuvdaka. May peace prevail on earth. May peace prevail in our homes and in our countries. May our missions be accomplished. We thank you, guardian spirits and guardian deities, for peace. As the fever of day comes towards twilight, may all that is strained in us come to ease. We pray for all who suffered violence today. May an unexpected serenity surprise them. For those who risk their lives each day for peace, may their hearts glimpse providence at the heart of history. That those who make riches from violence and war might hear in their dreams the cries of the lost. That we might see through our fear of each other a new vision to heal our fatal attraction to aggression. That those who enjoy the privilege of peace might not forget their tormented brothers and sisters. That the wolf might lie down with the lamb, that our swords be beaten into ploughshares, and no hurt or harm be done anywhere along the Holy Mountain, with thanks to John O'Donoghue. So let me see where people are from. From the cowboy-hatted season of the Calgary Stampede. I was at the Calgary Stampede last year. It was just amazing. Hot and sticky Slough. Well, it's 26 degrees here in Kilkenny. Someone described wherever they're from as tropical in the UK, tropical Hampshire. And then near Edinburgh, it's chilly. Wyoming, I assume it's good. They're warm and humid south central Indiana. 27 degrees in County Clare. Berlin, the Vale of Glamorgan, Italy, Ciao, Missouri. From the high desert of New Mexico, beautiful. From Bristol, Bavaria. Just lovely to be here. And sweaty Aberdeenshire, sunny Lancashire, Belgium, brilliant. I'm really enjoying cold and 5 a.m. I don't know where you are, but I'm really, really enjoying just lovely weather here. I'm just blown away by it. It's set to go into next week as well. Warm weather doesn't last long in Ireland. Anyway, you're all very, very welcome. And let me introduce my guest this evening. We're going to Ireland. So I would like to introduce my guest, Ratnadeva Quigley. Ratnadeva, you're so welcome.
Thank you, Eimear, very much for inviting me on this session. It's an honour and a privilege to have a chat with you. It's slightly odd, isn't it, over the digital universe compared with over the kitchen table and a cup of tea.
Yes.
A real pleasure. And it's lovely to hear how international the participants in this conversation are.
Yeah, absolutely. There are people in Australia who get up early.
Wonderful.
And New Zealand to watch this. I'm very, very impressed. Anyway.
Well, so just greetings to all who have got out of bed for this.
So I know you're in Dublin, you're a Dub, but you're not living in Dublin. So tell us where you do live and about your own landscape.
Right. So I am now living, for at least nearly for a year now, I've been living in the East Clare, so the west of Ireland, just west of the Shannon. The landscape is lakes, mountains, so that the Slieve Barna is about 5 minutes drive away. I go running up there. Then Lough Doon is about 3 minutes drive away. Lough Derg is one of the biggest lakes in Ireland after Lough Neagh, and it's just 5 miles to the east. So it's an area. East Clare is an area of lakes and hills, which is quite different to West Clare, which is a rugged Atlantic coastline.
With the Burren, yeah.
Yes.
So, all right. So you're from Dublin, and I suppose you've many iterations of yourself as a person and in your spiritual path. So, what brought you back to Ireland after? I know you lived in the UK for a long time.
Yes, I left Ireland. I emigrated, like many of my compatriots, in 1988, and so I had 36 years in the UK, and a very rich and enjoyable time it was. But I felt the call to come back, and arrived in Ireland back in where I am now at my sister's. But my sister's been very generous, and she's put me up here when I'm passing through Dublin, and for a period when I was searching for a house, which I finally found in East Clare. Yes, I've been brought up educated in Ireland, emigrated, worked abroad, and I'm really floating a few inches off the ground since my return. Tom ag seola ma fréamhachas. I'm sending my roots back down into my homeland, and I am so enjoying the process.
Yeah, what was it? Pat Booker says the elastic can stretch and stretch, but sooner or later it snaps us back home. And I mean, I've traveled and lived overseas, and the more I travel, the deeper my roots go down here. And it's such a privilege to be able to be on your homeland and to be able to put those roots down and feel if you're coming back home. So that's really exciting. It's just lovely. I mean, I live in Kilkenny. I'm not from Kilkenny, but I belong here. And it's just lovely to be able to say, yeah, I belong. I feel at home. And of course, that relationship is growing. I mean, you're, not from Clare, and it's growing that relationship with your house, your land, and the people around you. And that's just so exciting to be able to do that.
I had my first experience of watching a semi-final of the All-Ireland hurling in the local pub. So the village I've landed in, Broadford, it's about 200 people, and it has 2 pubs, 1 church, very, very Irish. And yes, that's a very significant match. Clare versus Limerick was on Sunday afternoon, and it was my first experience. It was an initiation into the religion of hurling. It was great. It was lovely to experience. It was very friendly, actually. There were Limerick and Clare supporters there, and they were getting on grand. The banter was flying.
Yeah, and they're neighbouring counties, so it's yeah. My brother-in-law, former brother-in-law, he hurled for Clare for 10 years. So yeah, and I'm not interested in sport at all, but I come from a sporty family. Sport is around me, but I just stay in my little non-sporty bubble. So tell us a bit about your background, and because I think your journey to here is very interesting, and I think people would find it fascinating.
Right. Maybe first, just a very broad brush. Born, raised in Dublin, lived in the South County Dublin, in a very traditional Catholic family. Both my parents were devout Catholics, and I would say at a time when 95% of the population of the South of the Republic would be nominally Catholic, and that was a spirituality that spoke to me in my teens. It was taken for granted before that. I just went to mass because that's what you did, but it actually spoke to me. It meant something to me at school. I remember at school being given the Gideon Bibles, and I really took it seriously. I was appalled when some of my classmates started making paper darts out of the pages of the Bible. I was scandalized. I took it really seriously. I found a call in there. So going down the road a bit, I went to university at University College Dublin, did chemical engineering, scraped a degree there, and went straight into publishing. I didn't, for various reasons, and but then an opportunity came up to get back into chemical engineering, or at least industrial manufacture, and a bit of consultancy, chemical engineering consultancy, paint manufacture. And that's what took me to the UK, because the company that was manufacturing the paint was a parent, or at least the parent company was in Yorkshire in the UK. And in their wisdom, they closed down the plant that I was production manager of, and offered me a job in their labs, product development labs in Yorkshire, Batley, West Yorkshire. So I went over to England in '88, and I've left out, as you know, a very important episode, which really I need to put in at this point, I realize, to make sense of the trajectory. And that is my involvement with Opus Dei when, in my teens, I did, as I say, feel a certain resonance with the gospel. I wfelt a sense of calling to go deeper. And around that time, 15, 16, I encountered Opus Dei, who had a centre in Dublin. And I loved what they had to offer in terms of an exposition of the Catholic faith, quite intellectually engaging, rigorous, I would say, conservative. Big fans of Pope John Paul II. And I signed up to a membership, which was a celibate membership. So it was actually described by, I would say, in terms of a calling, a vocation. And that language spoke to me. Now, I don't know whether that was me kind of internalizing what the message they were broadcasting, or whether actually, which is more my suspicion, my sense is more that I had a sense of calling, because I did consider the priesthood before I encountered it. So yeah, I think calling actually, there was a sense of calling to go deeper. And I used, you could put it this way, I used Opus Dei as the channel for deepening that calling. They offered a training, the community. I went to live in various Opus Dei centres. I'd hand all my earnings over to Opus Dei. And I loved that hive of and sharing of a shared spirituality ideals with young men. So yeah, it was a celibate vocation. It was a bit of a cauldron, that felt like a very rich and stimulating spiritual environment and training. And it was just the schedule for your week was very laid out. Meditation, mass meditation, or meditation mass in the morning. You'd go out to work. Meditation in the evening, get together in the evening. The communal aspect was really emphasized. You'd have examination of conscience before you go to bed at night. You'd have a weekly meeting with your spiritual director. You'd have a monthly retreat. You'd have a monthly day of recollection, a yearly retreat. So I'm kind of presenting a picture of a life which was very focused, and I loved it. I loved it for about 6 or 7 years, and I began to see the intellectual limitations of it, the boundaries, if you like, even the intellectual prison that it became when I'll give you an example which is illustrative of the intellectual boundaries that were placed on you in Opus Dei. And I probably still are. Opus Dei is a very conservative organization, that they really adhere to the founders' teachings and how he constructed it. So it's probably just the same now as it was then. So we had this index of books whereby a book was classified 1 to 6. 1 would be something very straightforward, like the Ladybird book of mushrooms, whereas a number 6 would have some content in it which would be contrary to faith and morals. And as far as you were concerned as a Catholic, your faith was your greatest treasure. You wanted to look after that, whatever else. It was your most precious gift. And so from an Opus Dei point of view, this was protecting you. I was in my late teens, early 20s, and I wanted to explore literature. I wanted to read James Joyce's Ulysses. But surprise, surprise, James Joyce's Ulysses was on the list. So you could only read that, say, if you were doing a university course and it were a crucial core reading on the course. I wasn't doing anything of that nature. So in effect, I was not allowed. And this appalled me. And then I began to realize, actually, this was just an emblem. It was emblematic of the bars that were placed on my knowledge of the world, on my reading of literature. Anyway, so that helped me. So I'm grateful to James Joyce for helping me to prise myself out of what was quite a tightly knit community, and it was difficult to leave. There were various pressures put on me to stay. You are putting your eternal soul in danger. You are going against God's will for you from before time began. So it was heavy enough. But I was pretty determined once I decided that I wanted to leave, and I left. And my family were very supportive. I'm very grateful to my family for being supportive of me when I did leave.
Were they relieved?
Yes. Yes. My sister in particular, but also my mother. I have good sense.
So while you were in the Opus Dei, did they ever try and distance you from your family and kind of dismiss their relevance in your life? Because often that happens with certain kind of conservative religious cults for their own. I don't know if you call Opus Dei a cult, but where there's a lot of control and then they want to keep you away from your family of origin. Did that happen to you, or does Opus Dei do that?
I didn't experience that so much. It was kind of under my own control. I do remember and really regret one of my mother's birthdays not being there for my mum's birthday, because it coincided with a celebration. It was some Opus Dei celebration, and I chose the Opus Dei celebration over my mum's birthday. Even thinking about it, talking about it now, I feel I've never disclosed this in public before to anyone. But oh God, just talking about it, I do regret some of my deeds, but I have to take responsibility for that. I don't feel I was pressured. Actually, I'd have to think about it and reflect about that and try and recall. Maybe I was pressured. Maybe there were subtle pressures, but whatever, I take responsibility for what I did as a member of Opus Dei. I don't see it as a cult, but it's a mood question. I kind of see that whole phase of my life as a phase which was quite, from my perspective, healthy. It's what I wanted, what I needed. I've experienced lots of benefits from it. I'm glad I left, but I've no misgivings about my time. Sorry, just to say, I have read some accounts of people having a very different experience of Opus Dei. So I feel for other people who've had a very different experience in Opus Dei, particularly women who chose that celibate vocation of very much service. which I can only read about. I haven't. I'd love to hear a one-to-one description in person of someone going through that. But I think I had the how will I put it, the smooth end of the stick. I experienced the positive side, whereas that could only come about if other people did the graft. So this is going to horrify you, but women did the cleaning, women did the washing, the cooking. As I say, it's a very traditional and conservative ethos and structure. So certainly when I was living in Centres of Opus Dei, I didn't do any of the cooking or the cleaning, and there were elaborate sort of systems developed so that there wouldn't be any contact with the women who were cooking and cleaning. And I look back on that, I think I really feel for any woman who threw their lives into that. And then again, how much did Opus Dei manipulate people into that situation? I wonder. Reading some of the material, I begin to think that there was manipulation at that end. I'm not so much aware of manipulation in my experience, but I think the whole system perhaps functioned on some level of manipulation of particularly the associate members of the women associate members of Opus Dei.
It's interesting. Sean in Calgary says the podcast Uncovered did an episode series on Opus Dei, told from the perspective of one woman's journey. So that podcast Uncovered, you can hear someone's story there. So there's a lot of response here, because people are linking it. People have had other experiences from other, we say, fundamentalist religions, and how difficult it has been to leave, or the. Coercive control happens in many, many ways. It doesn't have to be physical. It doesn't have to be threatening. It's that you buy into an ideology, or people are really nice and kind to you, and you think, you know what, these people are really nice and understanding. And there is that community, as long as you play ball. But once you begin to step out, you begin to question. That's when you see the cracks in. And some people are able to leave and say, okay, I'm out of here, like you did, because you couldn't read James Joyce or whatever. And others go, I'm going to shut up here now because I'm not safe if I don't. And if I leave, where will I go? Sometimes people burn their bridges and come in and stay there, or don't have the confidence or whatever to leave. And it all depends on their experience. So, so when you say you benefited, apart from having your your meals cooked for you and your laundry done, I mean, what was it? Actually, Pat has a question. What was it about Escriva's ideas that drew you?
He placed work at the center of your spiritual life. So your sanctification through work was the kind of central plank.
Laborare est orare, to work is to pray.
To pray, yeah. So that's there in Catholic theology before Escriva. He, if you like, created a certain channel for people to do that. But that you could say that the spirit was already there. So that I would say was the most attractive aspect. It was very much an embodied or practical spirituality, where the quality of your work was a prayer. So doing what you do well, and doing that consciously as an offering to God was the focus. I offer this work to God, therefore it's got to be good work.
And I think that's quite compelling, because I think, I said laborare est orare, and because that's the way I learned it. And Sean says ora et labora, which is prayer and work, is the more benign Benedictine version. And I think even within the order, Obot, what's very, very important is our service, however however our service is defined, be it as teacher, community member, ritual celebrant, or whatever. That service is also very, very important. And I think it's quite, service gives us meaning. So I can see why that would be quite attractive. It's just the other bits. Yeah.
The whole construct was very attractive to me. The living in community, I
Yeah.
actually appreciated the celibacy, the interchange, the discussion. I'm a bit heady, so I loved the theological education. We got the equivalent of what a Catholic priest would get in terms of formation, the theological study, with summer courses and retreats. The reason I brought it up was because it had an impact, a beneficial impact, I think, subsequently. What I took away with me from Opus Dei was an appreciation of community and the value of community,
Yeah.
and a love for that, being sharing space with like-minded individuals and encouraging each other in the spiritual life. So I was searching for an equivalent. I had a fairly deep experience over 7 years of community, and forever after, I was searching for an equivalent depth of communal experience. And when I was in England, so I went over, as I was saying, in '88 when I emigrated to work in Yorkshire, and immediately I was on the hunt for communities. Initially Catholic groups. There was an ecumenical group in Leeds, All Hallows. Made some really good friends there, and I'm still really good friends with my best friend in England. Is out of that group, Chris, and I tried all sorts of avenues. I joined, I dallied with the Revolutionary Communist Party. I joined the Samaritans. I joined an organization called Pax Christi, which is a really interesting organization directed towards peace activity, volunteering, activism, and is more on the liberal and radical end of Catholicism, the polar opposite. So I tried a fair few avenues for trying to find an equivalent communal experience, and eventually I found it, and that was through Buddhism, and then through Druidry. That's jumping.
Tell us tell us about your Buddhist path, and what kind of Buddhism, because I think there's many strands or different school is the wrong word, but you know what I mean, different
lineages was one
lineages. Okay, yeah.
So I first encountered Buddhism when I was at school. Mr. Gavin, our RE, religious education teacher, showed us videos on world religions, and one of them was on Buddhism. And I only remember one scene from that, and it was of a monk outdoors sweeping a path. And the commentary went something like, he's sweeping the path, but primarily not to make it clean, primarily to be aware of what he was doing as he was doing it, aware of his breath, aware of his body, of his intentions, and only secondarily was the intention to clean the path. That blew me away. I remember going home, as I did every day. That was in the morning, seeing the video. I went home, and on my way home, it was a bright, a bit like today, blue sky. I think it must have been in spring. And I just noticed the textures of the walls, the trees that I would walk by 100 times and just not notice. So it was like a mini eye-opening or awakening. At the time, I was totally fascinated by chess, even obsessed by chess. So I'd be in my head thinking about the next move, the next game I was going to play, what opening I might play, or the competition that was coming up. So I spent a lot of time up here. So to be brought into my physical senses was revelatory. I don't think it lasted very long, but it made an impression. So that was my first encounter, and a very positive encounter with Buddhism. So then down the years, I kind of had more positive encounters. There was a group that used to meet before I left Ireland, a group that used to study Anthony de Mello's material. He was a Jesuit who brought in Eastern spiritual ideas, but I think both from the
Gavita.
Baba
I had it in my head. Anyway,
it's there. You know what I mean.
Yes.
And from Buddhist literature. So I found his teachings very, very convincing. And then even Pax Christi had a little pamphlet that was a section from The Miracle of Mindfulness by Thich Nhat Hanh. I tried meditation, and I couldn't hack it. So down the years, after years in England, so I worked as a chemist, a paint chemist, for a few years, and I felt it wasn't where I wanted to have a career. So I wanted to address a growing environmental conscience, and I went back to university for a second degree, this time in environmental management and technology at Bradford University. And out of that came a master's in contaminant hydrogeology, looking at contaminated groundwater and addressing, particularly through natural attenuation, the contaminant load of contaminated groundwater. So that brought me to Sheffield. That's when I was in a pub one evening with a friend. She said she'd just been to a course in Buddhism up just the next block up, and I said, made mental note. There was another course coming up. I went to it, and I was like, okay, yeah, I found something that is compelling, offers community. So for a period, I was going on a Wednesday to this introduction to Buddhism in Sheffield, and on a Sunday I was going to the Quaker meeting house.
Oh,
which way do I go? It was like a bit of a fork in the road, and it was the community aspect that won out in and the teaching, actually, at the Buddhist Centre in Sheffield. And then I got a job with the British Geological Survey as a contaminant hydrogeologist. So that took me to Nottingham, and there was a centre of the same tradition, Triratna, in Nottingham. So there was a bit of continuity of contact. I went to live in the community above the Nottingham Buddhist Centre. My involvement, I'm a bit of a cagey Irishman. I gradually circle, eyeing up a situation before I kind of make any commitment. So I did that, became a friend or a mitra, which is a level of commitment, if you like. And then a bit further down the road, so this is a significant point, actually. About after 7 or 8 years working with the Geological Survey, so living in Nottingham, living above the Nottingham Buddhist Centre, having meditated for a few years, and I think meditation does, as we all know, meditation changes your mind, works on your mind, and stuff starts bubbling up that may not have been so much at the front of your awareness before. And what bubbled up for me was a desire to engage with nature in a ritualistic manner, specifically to celebrate the agricultural year through ritual. This might be sounding familiar.
Yes.
and it was just very clear what I wanted to do. Ritual at the seasonal points in the year. And it was catalyzed by going out to sites around the country in the course of contaminant hydrogeology work. And I'd be in sometimes beautiful places, and I'd be measuring, I'd be taking samples, I'd be writing reports, all very cerebral. And I needed, what the bubbling up was a sense of a need to balance that cerebral engagement with a poetic, a mythical engagement with the landscape. And it kind of, that felt as resonant with my who I was, if you like, my Gaelic Celtic background. That just spoke to me. It had to be done. So there I was, Nottingham, not just Nottingham, but the inner city. It was the Lace Market, so it's surrounded by pubs and clubs. The nearest trees were metal trees. There were sculptures.
No way.
Metaphorically telling. And so Buddhism wasn't quite meeting the need of that particular need, that need for connection, mythical connection with nature. So that's when I started exploring the options. And it was obvious to me that paganism would help me in this quest to celebrate the passage of the seasons, to celebrate nature and feel that connection. So I made a list of various pagan traditions, got a short list down to Wicca and Druidry, and Druidry won out because of my heritage, my Irish heritage. And I also felt perhaps that, as I thought then, that there was more environmental focus in Druidry compared with Wicca. May or may not be the case. So I opted for the course, the OBOD.
How did you find out about OBOD?
I think it was online. It must have been online that I came across OBOD and the course.
So how long were you in OBOD? When did you go?
That was 2003.
Oh, same time as me. Same year as me. Yeah.
Right. So I sent off for, it was the Guernsey would come through the post.
That's right.
But very soon I realized I really liked this material. The newsletter came through, and there was an advert for the Lunacy Camp. That was 2003. And I just went, I dipped my toe in the water, like I said, KG Irishman. Dipped my toe in the water, came to the last weekend of the Lunacy Camp, 2003. Loved it. It was, as soon as I walked in the door,
You're home.
As soon as I was welcomed, I love the gating. As soon as I was gated, I just felt yes. Even just arriving on the site is conducted in a ritual manner, and I thought I found my tribe here, and I've still got good friends from that time, and I had a magical weekend, and I was totally hooked.
And I've never been to an OBOD camp. My one regret, you talk about being the KG Irish person. They always clashed with my own Wheel of the Year. And then I thought, I'm just too shy to go over to England for a 6-day camp. Oh no, I couldn't do it. So I didn't go to a gathering until 2011. So, and they had, at that point, I wasn't able to go. And then they ended. And then there was a White Horse, but I've never gone to, I've only been to one Druid camp ever. That wasn't an OBOD camp. It was, the Rainbow Camp, is it? Yeah. But when I hear about them, it's like, oh, I'd love to have been to have gone on them and experienced them. There's some comments. Ratnadeva, you're a beautiful soul. What a fantastic journey you've been on. Such a pleasure to listen to. Now, John King, because you were asking me about Buddhists, it's really interesting listening to Sean as his pathway from Buddhism and OBOD mirrors my own journey. I'm wondering how common this is. So we were having a conversation earlier, John. So John is in Scotland, Ardnamurchan, around how many Buddhists are in OBOD. So there's a few.
How many Dharma druids are there on the tip of a pin?
On
the tip of a needle. Could you put in a slot in the next gathering for a debate on the issue?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah, I might do that. We think about it. You can do that on the hearth. You can set up the theological debating circle on the hearth, and you can have lots of stuff. Really interesting.
Just say, Eimear, that camps for me are the beating heart of Druidry, and I'm partly using this as an excuse for the fact this is a confession, really. I've only ever got to Guernsey 19 on the Bardic course. I do. I am hoping to re-engage with the material. It's probably all outdated, the material I have now. It's probably all online and with additional media. Let me just close the window here.
Okay.
So I let myself off the hook in terms of my lack of progress with the Guernsey. I let myself off the hook. You know, it is what, 23 years. Over 23 years, I've managed 19 Guernsey, but I have done the 19 about 3 times.
Very good. So you've done it thoroughly so far.
But you see, the camps just are an education. You are. You are with people like Barry and Anne, who are just such experts, such talented ritualists, and you experience druids doing their druidry, and that it's so much more than just reading.
Well, Barry was a guest maybe 2 years ago, and he has never finished his bardic grade, and won't.
Right.
He won't. He's like, no, I'm a druid. I don't need to. And you see, this is the thing about OBOD, that it's not a qualification, and it's how you are. And I'm never interested. I didn't know you, and how long do I know you now? You've been coming regularly to my grove. I've never known what grade you're on, and nor does it matter. So, and a lot of my friends, I have no idea where they are in their journey, and I don't care. Can you come and be in my home, and stand in circle with me? Can we go to a gathering? Can we be here? And that's what is important, not how far you are and whether you're properly qualified and all of that stuff. It doesn't matter. And you engage with it in your own way, and that's all you can do. And Jules Weaver says, brilliant. I'm on my 4th go around with the bardic grade, and I'm happy to know I'm not No, Jules, you are not alone. There's some people who say that, like Barry, he'll never finish it, and he doesn't want to. Maybe Ratna Deva might. And Pat says, sounds like when I wandered into Kaimab and fell in love with druids before reading a single verse. That's true. That's when I met Pat 16 years ago. 17 years ago? No, 12 years ago. Sorry, I'm getting... So it's Sean, who's in Calgary. I think spending time with bodies in nature over the course of decades would naturally convey all the Guernsey teach. So there's some people who join and they're in a hurry to get all 3 grades done, to feel that they've done it. And that's not the way it works. It's all about taking your time. And it's a bit like it's sweeping the path.
But I do value what Philip has put together.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And I hereby declare my intention to actually go through the 3 grades. I want to do that, but I have focused over the years on the Buddhist side of my path. So I'm a Dharma druid, and the Buddhism has won out. They're both I can't separate the two really, but in terms of formal study and attendance at retreats, I'm ordained as a Buddhist since 2013. So I've lived in Buddhist communities, and I suppose you could say that part of the reason is those structures exist. There are not so many druidic permanent stable communities, are there? Camps are wonderful as temporary communities coming together for a limited, but Buddhism is such an established tradition. There are many resources out there, and I have availed of those. But I don't separate my druidry from my Dharma from my druidry. They are so integral to each other. They're both animist traditions, as I see it. This is my version. Again, you have to add that proviso, don't you? Because have 10 druids in a room, and they'll all have their own version and take.
And absolutely, but this is the beauty of the order and the paths that people travel through the 3 grades, is that you do not have to let go of any other spiritual path and you're invited to weave those in. So yours are integrated, and only you can do that for you. And you're all the richer for it. It's just being able to do that. And Rob John says, I'm so interested in this aspect as I'm being drawn towards Buddhism as well as my Druidic, pagan Celtic beliefs. You're not alone. So having this conversation tonight that, there's quite a bit of interest, and it's Poppy, you're almost finished your Bardic grade. Well done. And then Andrew's on the last course of the Bardic grade. Been doing it for 5 years. Took me 6 to finish my Bardic grade because I just rejected being a bard. I wasn't a bard. I was doing OVT stuff. And then I started telling stories. Oh, Ratnajeva's gone. I hope he comes back. So I don't know what that is. Maybe his internet is gone. Or his battery on his computer or something, maybe. And just to look at the comments here, Buddhism accepts animism, but at the end, Buddha something. So where do you land at present vis-a-vis spiritual community? Are you living with one in Ireland? No, he's living in a house in County Clare. Or found some happy medium with Obod, and I think so. Let's see what other people are saying. Morgan says, I'm close to finishing the Bardic grade, but wholly excited to do it all over again down the line. Interesting. I was talking to some Druids some months ago, and well-seasoned Druids, mature people, and they said they're back doing the Bardic grade for the 3rd time and how they're getting so much from revisiting it and discovering something new this time. So, and that's really fascinating. So who said, Brian, I found the Celtic folklore is filled with the same kinds of philosophy as Sanatan, Dharma, and Buddhism and Taoism. Lovely. Sean says the ghost of Escriva is pissed off. And Tricia, I'm a Reiki and Quaker, and so that's good to hear. All can be combined. Absolutely. And my husband Howard had gone to a Quaker school, and he couldn't define himself, and he decided he was a Quagan, so a pagan Quaker. So again, within the order, you weave in what it is you wish for your own life, and what the Gwers do, the lessons, they provide you with a framework from which to build your own Druidic practice. And that's what's so, so lovely. John says, I went into my Buddhist tradition as a very confused and troubled person, and the meditation sorted out my heart. But since joining Obod, this is really
I've got visuals back.
Okay, I don't know what happened to you, Ratnadeva.
But I cannot hear you, I'm afraid.
Oh, you can't hear
me?
Yes.
Okay. How do I get to hear you? It's obviously a problem at this end.
Yeah.
How frustrating.
So you can't hear me. You can't hear me.
I honestly don't know what to do to reconnect sound. Is there anything that you
why
have
don't you go out
over in terms of sound?
Can you leave? Oh, you can't. You can't. I'm going to put a note.
What if I sign out and sign in again?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do that. Okay.
Let me see. And oh, there we go. Is that any? Can you speak? And I'll see if I can.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Nope. Okay. So leave.
Okay. So hopefully he will. Now I have frozen, and is that what's happened? Hi, can you hear me? Can everybody hear me? So hopefully he will come back. He's coming in now. We'll see. I have frozen. Okay.
Good. We're back. Oh, yes. Now you're frozen. No, you're back.
It's coming in now, I hope. Okay, can you hear me? You can hear me.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Now I can't hear you.
Oh no.
This is really strange.
How if I
So
yabber away?
everybody can hear, you can hear me and people can hear you, but I can't hear you. So I don't know what's happened. Let me just see. Edit mic session. Now I can, I don't know what that is. I think we're going to have to end. It's such a pity. I don't know why that, because it happened mid-broadcast.
Yeah.
But I just want to say, Rat and David, thank you so much for this really, really wonderful chat. And I know there were lots of people can hear us both, but I don't know what it is. So it's, and it's sometimes if there's thunder in the air, it'll affect the signal. Anyway, I just want to thank you so much. People can hear you, I can't. So I let you say good evening or goodbye.
Well, it's been
so you can say goodbye to everybody. People can hear you.
Yeah, I'm gutted that the conversation was interrupted. I was just going to launch into how, the way I see it, how Druidry and Buddhism are not just compatible, but actually synchronistic. Not synchronistic. They help each other. They're mutually supportive. Anyway, a note for another night. Thank you very much, Eimear. Thank you, everybody who has.
Okay, now I'm going to send you to the green room, but we can look at the comments. So don't go away, and I'll just say goodbye, and I can go offline. So thank you, everybody, for coming. I'm sorry about the technology. It's I hope you can hear me, and I look forward to. I think I'm on next week. Am I on next week for another? Yep. For another fireside chat. In the meantime, I hope you're coping with the weather. I'm just blissed with the warm weather, and we're going to have another week of it. And those of you, wherever you are, I know in New Zealand, somebody said it's cold. Sorry about that. But I look forward to seeing you again. So in the meantime, be well. Slán go fóill.